Trump is not supporting grooming. And the stuff that DeSantis is going after now that we support is stopping the exploitation of children. To conflate those two things to make it seem like Trump supported grooming today is completely wrong. But it's resulted in a major backlash where now I'm seeing on Twitter, this has been happening for the past week or so. We've been out. And now even Peaky Blinders coming out and attacking him over it. I'm not surprised the media and Hollywood or whatever would come after him. But even conservatives are criticizing him for this.
You know, I sort of put on my political consultant hat with this one. And this is just one other case of DeSantis' staff screwing up his chances.
Oh, yeah.
And this, it wasn't Ron DeSantis that went to the account and retweeted it. Now, look, outside groups create edgy, weird videos to support their candidate all the time. And that's what happened here. Some edgy outside group created this. But then somebody who has access to the campaign account saw that. And they thought, oh, let's retweet this one, because then it made something that was an outside group that had distance from the campaign. Maybe it got a few voters their way, or maybe people asked questions, oh, how committed is Trump to the anti-groomer agenda? And then they totally stepped in it. And basically by retweeting, they took ownership of the video. And look, I run in the same circles of people that work for DeSantis and all the other campaigns, and inside, the complaints about his staff screwing up his campaign have been persistent and growing louder, going back months and months. And here's the problem is that when you're a governor of a state and you win a seat by a large margin because you're a great governor, she is, and your opponent is terrible, everybody in the staff that thinks they're the ones that earned you that 19-point victory. And in terms of expanding from a governor's race to a national race, which is from T-ball to Major League Baseball, you have to expand that circle of trust. And what he's done is he's taken a team that didn't really do a lot to get him through a governor's race, and now we're running a presidential campaign. And that he has to learn to expand his circle of trust to get people who are not going to allow bonehead mistakes like that to happen. And because, look, there's a lot of stuff going on that has been tremendously detrimental to his campaign. And it just comes down to staff. Yeah. And it's his staff that screwed up.
His campaign press team have been rolling around in it like crazy.
Picking fights with a women's group in New Hampshire because they double schedule an event in New Hampshire with the most powerful Republican women's group in the state. And rather than saying, oh, we're sorry, we'll move it to a different date or a different time or something like, they just said, oh, we'll pick a fight with these guys.
What kind of fight? What'd they do?
A public fight.
Like just verbal on Twitter or something?
Yeah, like that kind of fight, which it's just there's stuff happening behind the scenes I can't really share, but I'm aware. But I'll give you one really good example, okay? So there's this congressman from Florida who, Greg Stube, who was not sure who he was going to endorse. He hadn't endorsed Trump yet, like most of his colleagues from Florida, right? And he's up in the air, right? And he got a phone call. A member of DeSantis' staff called him to say, hey, can you hold off endorsing President Trump? Because we'd like to get your endorsement. Both of you know the problem with that, right? A staff member calling a member of Congress to back, not the governor, a staff member. And this is a guy, this is interesting because this guy, he had an accident. He fell off a ladder in December or something. He badly injured himself. The first person to call him in the emergency room,
Trump.
Yes. And I've got so many friends who are like they're like mid-tier, low-tier influencers. They say something cool about President Trump. Guess what they get? A FedEx with the tweet with his signature on it. Say, keep up the great work.
Yeah.
Like, all candidates have their flaws, but it's just really troubling to see these repeated mistakes. And Trump's team, they're all on top of some things. You know, it's just, they're great at these
Trump
things.
is the guy I saw. I went to his rallies in 2015 and 16. When the rally was over, he'd walk up to the front of the stage, the barricades, and he would just hang out and shake hands and just talk to whoever was there. He knows people.
Yeah,
he gets
that
it.
rock star
calling that guy after getting hurt is like a person. It's like an authentic thing to do. Yeah. DeSantis has been plastic the whole time. He's surrounded. His press people are miserably bad. And I want to show you this real quick. So put a pin in that thought, Phil. Yeah. Predict It now has Ron at 24 cents. Oh. He was actually rivaling Trump, and at some point, if he was above Trump, now he's gone. It's just gone.
Matt, do you think that, because as far as I can tell, the strategy that DeSantis has is to attack Trump from the right. Do you think that that's a winning strategy?
I'm not sure that is his strategy. I think it's been different things at different times, which is part of the problem. Look, it was going to be an uphill battle to begin with, and I think that was a little bit unexpected was that the indictments would actually and first I could see this. I'm sure everyone at this table could see this, but the indictments were actually very helpful to consolidating the base to Trump. And they did something else: is they sucked all the oxygen out of the air for all the other candidates, right?
Yeah.
Plus, with the fact that you've got all these other candidates coming in, if it was a mano a mano, it might be a different story. Because I think what DeSantis' value proposition is that I'm just as conservative, if not more conservative, but I can actually deliver on what I say because they'll point out to things that Trump couldn't quite get done.
Do you feel like because I feel like Trump's strength wasn't in that he was particularly conservative. His strength was that he would take the fight to the left. So Trump didn't have to be like, he was friendly to LGBT issues and stuff like that. And he didn't really come from the conservative, especially the religious conservative. I mean, everybody remembers the whole, the Bible's my favorite book of the Bible, that exchange. So I don't feel like he was ever particularly far to the right. Did you feel like he was?
I think that there are issues where he was to the right of the party. On immigration, he was by far the most right-wing candidate in 2016 because right before he went down that escalator, he had read Ann Coulter's book on immigration. And that fired him up, and that really put him on the map. And but I think what he has over the other candidates is that he's a known quantity. A lot of people think he was that the election in 2020 was rigged, or I can say it now. I guess a lot of people think it was stolen or rigged. And
You could always say that,
but
you just couldn't play Trump saying it.
Oh yeah. But he is authentic, and he's got a level of authenticity that is like when you read his tweets when he was on Twitter, and now his tweets are still on Twitter because they'll just take truth and repost it on Twitter. You read that and he wrote it, and nobody got in his way. It wasn't focus group or anything like that. Whereas some of these other candidates, I think they just struggle a little bit with the authenticity.